Just waiting for Jake. Let's see where he is. Just waiting for some people to jump on. Oh, they're having technical difficulties. There we are.
Yeah. Sunny
Good
here and
morning.
over there. Good morning.
Good
Hi,
morning.
Grace. Nice and light
camera
there. We
gals.
haven't quite got our sunrise yet.
Yeah,
Dark
you need to
as
be looking
here.
at the sun.
It's pretty foggy this morning, but you can look like right at the sun this morning. So
Well, I hope it's foggy here so that keeps our crop living because it's bloody dry still.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We've had rain all week again. As much as I hate
Stop
to say it.
All right. So, yeah, it's quite foggy by the look of it. My hubby's just leaving for work. Good morning, Rocky Forest Farm. We have someone joining us, so we'll get cracking. All right, I'll do my intro.
Mhm.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So glad to have you joining us live this morning. I'm Mel from Honey-Bee Farmstead, and I'm pretty excited about this special collaboration. This morning, I'm joined by Jake and Grace from Homestead on the Brook, a fellow homesteader or fellow homesteaders who have been sharing their journey with their first house cow, Fontaine. They've been tackling quite a few challenges with her lately, and we thought this would be a great opportunity to have a real honest conversation about common house cow problems and how to correct them. So grab a cuppa, get comfy and join the chat. We'll endeavour to answer your questions if they pop up in the chat. We've got 15 people watching now. All right. Sadly, I can't be out near my cow to show you the common problems I'm having at the moment because my service doesn't stretch that far. So
Yeah, that's a shame.
So where is she?
She's already getting a bit edgy.
Uh-huh.
So I'll give a bit of an update. So Fontaine's our first house cow. We've had her since November last year. We've already given her one round of AI, artificial insemination, but that didn't take, unfortunately. And then all the other times she went on heat was just really inconvenient times. Oh, she's doing a poo right now. Trying to show me who's boss. All the other heats, we were doing our driveway, the cyclone hit, then our AI was overseas, then we're starting our house footings. So it's just been a really inconvenient time trying to line up the second AI. And I do have a second straw, but just haven't got around to being able to get onto that. So with behavioural issues, she did spend quite a lot of time next door with the other steers so we could track her heat, which was awesome. But yeah, I wasn't giving her daily attention, and I was sort of flying the drone over, checking her sticker, going over every few days. But now that she's back with us, she did approach me. She used to approach me quite fine, and she was quite happy to walk up to me and take some snacks and get a pat here and there. But now that I've sort of trained her, I feel like she's more resistant to walk up to me. So when I Halter trained her, she actually got out of her little paddock that we set up for her, and she was up the back of the paddock. And I thought, oh, that's fine. I'll just walk up, give her some carrot, have a rope. I'll grab her halter and flick a little rope through, and I'll just drag her back. That's fine. Yeah, not a big deal. And I kind of maybe I was a bit laxed in my thinking of how forceful she would be with me, or maybe I thought that I had a bit more of a rapport built up with Fontaine. So I went to the back. She took the carrot. I grabbed her halter. She flinched and pulled. So I stood my ground because I wanted to show her who's boss. And then when she realized I wasn't going to let go, she flicked her head really hard. She smacked me in the nose and broke my nose and knocked me over, ran over the top of me, and I got a hoof to the back of the head. And I went to hospital that morning and got 8 stitches in my head and big flap of skin opening up to my skull. It was quite crazy and pretty scary experience. But I haven't given up. We're still going. She's now halter trained. I did a tractor, tied her to the tractor and walked her up and back the field for a week. And now I'm able to do it by hand. But it's still not very easy. She still doesn't let me approach her in the field. So I'm going to give the phone to Grace, and she'll have to flick the camera around. And we're basically just going to, I guess I'll ask the first question sort of after we get underway on our walk, but I'll show you what her behavior is like. And then we can have a chat about maybe how we can improve on getting her to be more approachable or trustworthy. But you'll see, she likes to play the hard game, and she won't just happily come.
If everyone watching, I'm going to stay quiet.
Probably have a big 6-meter long rope. Something. Back on her legs again. Give your leg over. Okay. Leg over the rope. Again. There we go. There we go. Come here. Good morning. Good morning, you silly thing. Okay. All right, ready for our walk?
All right, for
So,
everyone watching, just
let's go.
quickly, I stayed quiet because so many variables can affect this situation that Jake's in right now. It can be hearing other things that aren't normal to them and all sorts of things. They're creatures of habit. But after having watched that, I can see that, one, she's not scared of Jake at all. She doesn't run off to the furthest corner and try and get away from him. In fact, she keeps turning back like, are you coming? Are we playing? Like, what's happening here? So if you watch her body language and her behavior, you can actually see it's not a fear thing. It's a little bit of a morning game routine.
Yeah, it's like that every morning.
Yep.
Yep, I guess the first question I was going to ask her, she runs away from me. Is there something I can do to build more trust so that she starts approaching me instead of bolting?
I don't believe you have a trust issue there, Jake.
Yeah.
I think, see where you're touching her head and she's pulling away? That is very common of the cows that I have purchased from dairies. I do not know why I still have not figured it out. They just don't like their head being touched in general. And they usually like the bottom of their chin being scratched. But again, I have like a herd of 30 cows and everyone is completely different. So there are a few factors to consider before we get into Fontaine for everyone else playing along at home. Those things are personality traits. They're just like humans and they have different personalities. I can see that Fontaine is quite playful. I've been watching your interactions with her since you got her quite eagerly too. And her play borders on, like, it's quite rough because she's quite a big animal, right? So at times it can feel intimidating because she has hurt you before, right? Another thing is hormones. They're constantly changing in a female cow, especially one is not pregnant yet. So she will cycle every 21 to 28 days, somewhere in the middle of 21 and 28 days. They're all different. And depending on where she's in her cycle will change her mood and her behaviour. Past history, like potential trauma she's experienced. We don't really know much about her past history, do we?
Not really.
No. So we're kind of having to start from scratch and work her out pretty much. And I've had to do the same myself, and I'm doing it again actually now with one. And herd mates and position in the herd. So they're just some to name a few, but just like humans in their world, everything is relevant, right? She has a massive amount of trust for you, but she is still trying to assert dominance by the look of her. See that there? The shaking of the head, like, get away from me. Just don't want to do it this morning, just frustrated or whatever. And she's just getting used to you handling her and touching her face. Like, I've found that with all my dairy bred cows, anything that I've raised from a baby, no dramas. They don't have a problem being pat all over and touched all over. So I think that might be just what that is.
Yeah.
You're waiting for her to push on you?
Yeah, that's the other question I had. So she hasn't done it too much, but she did go through a phase after our walk where I'd try and give her a pat and try and let her go when she's in a calm state. When I pat her on the head, she was actually pushing me forward instead of pulling away, bearing it down and nudging me forward with quite a lot of force. And I wasn't sure if it was affectionate or aggressive behaviour.
Yep. So without having seen it, I can't really judge because didn't get to look at it, and she seems to not be doing it right now. All I can say is if you've learnt her, her mannerisms and that sort of thing. If you felt like it was in a fairly like pushy, sort of aggressive, potentially manner, then that would have been what it was. And it is just simply she's kind of given into you and she's trained, right? But it will still push against the boundaries. She's just like a kid. They do that.
Cheeky.
So what I have found, I've also raised a Jersey bull, and that's not advisable. Every cow expert I have in as friends and that I talk to, they do say to me, "Oh, never keep a Jersey bull. They're one of the most vicious animals like on the planet." And whilst I don't at all get cocky and ignore them, I have raised a Jersey bull, and so far so good. He's nearly 3, and he's brilliant. But he does that too. Every now and again, he'll push his head against you and like almost walk forward, like going to test the boundaries of whether he can actually push me over. And so I did say to you the other day, what does work is slapping the side of their face, right? They're used to using that hard part of their head to push things around and whatever, and it's common within the herd. What they would never get is a slap to the side of the face because their fellow cows can't do that. So you've kind of got to, I watch the herd, I watch how they behave towards each other to learn where they are in their pecking order and that sort of thing. And that has a huge bearing on the kind of animal they are. But also it tells me things that I could do that will stop bad behaviours that are not abusive, but shocking, because you want to shock them out of it quickly and kind of stop that behaviour immediately. Because once an animal's allowed to get away with something once, they will keep pushing that boundary to see if they can do it again and again and again. So I like the firm but fair approach. And I like that when she does misbehave, she gets an immediate punishment, which is to be tied up to the post for a couple of hours to think about her behaviour. And I have done that a number of times. Some of my cows don't need it and others need it regularly still.
Yeah, I guess that plays on to another question I had. For me, I feel like tying her up, it makes our relationship even worse, and less trustworthy. I guess is sometimes tying up not an effective measure for certain cows or their behaviour, or
no, that's not.
I'm scared to approach her when she's tied up because she just throws her weight around. And,
Okay, so to answer my opinion, and this is all this is that no, there's never a time where halter training and tying up is counterproductive. It put simply, she tests the boundaries, and you have to have an asserted position as the boss or the herd, the head of the herd, right? And so should Grace, and so should the kids, so that she never tests, her spot in the herd. I know you guys are not cruel or unkind to her, and you keep using the word trust. I can see she already trusts you. It's not about trust. It's about wanting to be in control. See, she pulled up really easy then. She could have taken off and just kept you dragging.
Yeah, she could have.
She's just playing.
Let's go. You know the drill. Let's go. Good girl. Come on.
I noticed as well when you caught her, when you caught her, she didn't have to do anything for the reward, but you kind of rewarded her immediately, but she ran around like silly. So if she approached you without running around silly is when I'd be rewarding, not before that. Or once you've caught her, forget the reward if you've had to catch her, and wait until she does something like she's walking lovely with you. And make sure it's immediate. She's walking really nice, she's behaving, she's not tossing her head. Good girl, Fontaine. But not good girl, Fontaine, I caught you after running around the paddock for a bit and having to grab your rope. If that makes sense. Yep.
Later on.
Again, because we don't know her history, I would make sure it's at least once a day. It doesn't have to be for long periods of time. Just check in with her, give her a pat. I want her to get to a point where you can groom her, because then the relationship for her becomes quite beneficial. They really enjoy being groomed and brushed all over. I know that you said it's kind of a little bit frightening, and she has given you cause to feel like that. But like I said to you the other day, I'd pull her into the milking store where you're going to milk her, and I would, because that area's got beams down the side, which kind of protects you from being hurt or from her stepping around and being silly. And then, start patting her and brushing her and grooming her with horse brushes and things, because they really enjoy that. But also it's their love language in their herd, right? They are grooming each other constantly. So it's kind of like you're doing the same thing with her. And that goes for her teats and her udder and things like that. Now, you were told she's a heifer, so she shouldn't have all that. But I'm not sure. I think maybe she has had a calf before, and I think potentially that may be why she is giving. See, there's totally different. You've worked her for a bit. See, the energy's changed?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is consistency and repetition, just like with kids or dogs or any sort of training. If you don't ever let them get away with bad behaviour, she won't. And like I said to you, she will be able to be a show cow and, trusted not to kick and all that sort of stuff if you keep working with her. You've come a long way. I know sometimes it might not feel like it.
Got a long way from chasing her into the cattle yard with kids and electric wire fencing, and feels like we have come a long way.
Yeah. Well, now you can, the training rope is a great idea. I have 2 with training ropes on at the moment. I've got a few that don't need it. They'll approach me straight up in the paddock. Funnily enough, everyone I've raised from a calf approaches me, no worries. In fact, is probably a little bit over the top. They like sometimes try and mount you when they're in season, and they see you as one of their herd mates. And they'll come straight up to you. I do purely believe it's because she's come from a dairy situation, because if you think about the relationship between her as your house cow and her in a working Jersey operation or milking operation, she's there to do a job. It's all automated. She gets pushed into a yard. She walks in. It's all repetition. And she would have been doing it, but potentially
True.
not liking it. Maybe she was a kicker. Who knows why they got rid of her? But you're asking different things of her. You're asking for her to be friendly and safe and quiet, be able to be led so you can AI her or do vet treatments on her or anything.
That's
You know, if she hurt herself in a paddock and you didn't have her halter trained, she would be in danger then because you wouldn't be able to get hold of her and you'd have to run her around and run her around and run her around just to get the vet near her. And that's why we halter train. It's like very important in the homestead setting.
Yeah.
And retraining a dairy animal is very difficult. I've done it, and varying levels of difficulty. See, you're being lovely now, Fontaine. Yay, listening. She's listening.
Who's that? That's a familiar voice, hey?
She's a
So-
beautiful animal.
Well, do you want to jump into any of the? Is there any chat questions?
There was a chat question from Megan Claxton. She was asking me about stopping a kicking cow. That's another very loaded one, and I think potentially you might be dealing with soon when you get her into the stall. Hopefully not, because most of the time a dairy animal has been trained out of that. Unless that's why they got rid of her and they couldn't train it out of her. There are a few aids I use. There's two options really. One of them is to tie one leg, the leg that you're on the side of. Everyone milks from a different side, so you kind of have to pick what side that is. And you can buy cow-safe hobbles, and I usually put one on the leg and then one to the milking stool quite low so they can't even lift their leg. I don't like them as much as I like the belly rope because I've had them really spaz out and not like having their leg tied. And I feel like potentially it has the very high risk of hurting muscles and ligaments in their legs. And you don't want to do that. So after having used both, I like the belly rope. The belly rope just goes around in front of the udder and up over the hip and back around and makes a loop around the cow. And you tighten it to it's just tensioned because the rope going across the top of their back. When I say rope, I use a one of those ratchet strap things that's nice and flat. And it just puts pressure on their spine and stops them being able to really lift their leg really high. They may still be able to step, which you want, but they can't kick and they can't hurt you. So that might be something that you're going to have to look into later. Hopefully not, because you're going to use all this training that you've done now and start grooming her in the head bale, lock her in, give her a little bit of feed, and then, grooming her, brushing her down the sides, brushing her belly. I know you said that you use things for flies over there. In the worst parts of summer, we do too. The aerosol sound can really stress them out. So I think that's what was maybe stressing her out when you were doing it.
It's just a spray liquid, so it's not like an aerosol.
Just like
Yeah.
one of those trigger ones.
Yeah, but it's the sound.
It's
Yeah.
going into the headlock.
Because it means that she has to work and she wants to be a freeloader. Like some humans in society don't want to work, but it's got to be done. She's in excellent condition. I think you'll see a big change in her when she gets pregnant. Their hormones really settle down when they're pregnant. And sometimes they become a completely different animal. You may find she just approaches you all the time.
But she could also get more aggressive too, right?
Not generally while pregnant. I've not really seen that happen. But when she has the calf, maybe. Because again, we don't know what her history is. I suspect that maybe she has had a calf, looking at how jiggly her bag is. A heifer's bag is normally quite tight underneath. She has got a bit of weight on her, so maybe that's the thing as well. But in one of your videos when there was view from the back end, it was like really quite jiggly. And it kind of to me, I thought maybe she has had a calf before. And if that's the case, and they just haven't told you, and sometimes that does happen, maybe that calf died, maybe it was born prematurely, maybe it was taken off her, because in most dairy operations, they are taken from them the day they're born. And sometimes that just causes trauma, and they can't reason it in their mind, and that it stresses them out. But like I said to you the other day, I've got Bonnie, and Bonnie was my most dangerous animal. She lifted me up with her horn and ripped the muscle off my arm and quite badly damaged me. But I knew she'd had trauma, because every time she sees a dog, she would literally freak out and like run at the dog. And where I got her from, they had a staffy that just was running around crazy nonstop. So we don't know whether maybe that was part of the trauma, but it has taken 3 calves on my property for me to finally earn the trust with her that she knows I'm not going to take her baby. I let her raise her baby. She gives me milk. She doesn't hold back. She's way less aggressive. In fact, she's not shown any aggression since she's had Flossie at all. And she's still got Flossie on her. So it can take some time to build up a loss of trust. And it doesn't mean she's lost trust in you. It means humans, like you represent something that maybe she doesn't trust. No. And that's why I say to you, you're probably sick of hearing it, and I'm like a broken record, but I'm really looking forward to when you do get her pregnant, because I feel like, one, her hormones will calm right down, but that's when you really get a chance to show her that you can have your baby, you can raise your baby, that's fine. We're not going to take your baby. And then also you'll have the chance to raise a baby, which is a much more pleasant experience, and the training's so much easier. Okay. I do have a list of do's and don'ts. And again, this is my personal preference. It is just my opinion. And I never call myself an expert, but what I have learned, when you're first starting out with cows, it's advisable to go out into the herd and sit amongst them. Watch their interactions, see how they behave together, watch how they discipline each other and tell each other they don't like certain things, and learn from the herd. You don't have that yet because you only have 1 cow. So that may be all it is that's missing, is a friend for her, because they are extremely social creatures. I feel like raising a pet lamb, no dramas. They'll come to you whenever you come out there, and they're all good. When you raise a calf, even if it's only ever known you, they still look for someone else. They look for, someone to lick them and groom them. And it's kind of their love language, right?
Mm.
So I always say observe. Always stay calm. Don't lose your cool. If you can feel it coming, and this is easier said than done, because I have made mistakes and I've stuffed up and got cranky, and I've made the training harder for myself. But try and stay calm and don't lose your cool. If you feel like you're going to lose your cool, leave her tied up. It's not going to hurt her. She's not starving, definitely. And you always leave her tied up where there's water. So she's safe. She's in the shade, all the things. There's no shame in that. Stay consistent. They are creatures of habit. If feed time is, you can set your watch by my milking time in my dairy. If I'm out 20 minutes late, they're all screaming at me. But they're dead quiet if I'm on time, because they know what the time is. You can set your watch by it. Reward positive behavior. But on the flip side of that, do not reward bad behavior. Don't be like, oh, I finally caught you, you little shit. Here, have a treat. Because it kind of rewards her either way. She ran around, she was an idiot, she kicked up her heels, and she still got a treat. So try and remember that, and try and be consistent with it. And as far as trust goes, you've used that word a lot. I believe, watching her, you guys have both got a level of trust with her. Now, you said to me the other day, oh, Grace can go out in the paddock and she'll come up and, be curious about Grace and Grace can pat her and whatnot. But that's because Grace isn't asking anything of her. She's not, she doesn't see Grace as, oh, we've got to work. She sees Grace as, oh, lovely cuddles and pat. Who wouldn't love that? So it's not that you haven't got the level of trust with her, Jake. It's that you ask something different of her. And it might be hard to get your head around, but there will become a turning point where that doesn't matter anymore, and she does show you that she really loves you and enjoys your affection. And you know how you could test it is switch roles. Maybe Grace becomes the one that has to walk her around and do the training with her. And I swear, if you didn't come out in the morning and do it with her, she'd be bellowing looking for you.
Oh, she does. She stands at the fence line looking into our little carport.
As
We're
close
making
as you
breakfast as
possibly can.
close as she can. She just stands there staring in through the window as we
Yeah.
make our coffee in the morning.
So
She was there for
body
about
language
25
is
minutes.
huge when you're dealing with them. And that's why when you were chasing her this morning to get her rope, I was watching her body language. There was nothing about her body language that said she's frightened of you or that she doesn't trust you. It was simply, it's the routine she's got into. It's a play thing. And I think that's all it is, genuinely.
Cool. Well, that's
When
good
she
news.
does the head toss at the start, it's like, oh, you got me. Like I've got to work now, sort of thing. But there was nothing aggressive about it. And when she was running off from you, she kept turning and looking for you, like, are you coming? Are you coming to run with me? Like there was nothing at all frightened, or you haven't lost her trust in any way, I don't believe.
Yeah, that's good. I remember one thing we had when we had a chat the other day. You mentioned that if you do lose your cool, you can actually undo 12 months of training. I think you said. I
Right.
didn't know that was a thing, so that was quite scary to hear.
Sometimes more. So if you lose your cool and you, like, I'll give you an example. My Josephine is my show cow. She's the one I take to shows. In fact, the first show I ever took her to, at least 5,000 people came through our stall and patted her, touched the baby, like was toddlers underneath her belly playing with her udder, everything. She didn't lift a leg. She was perfectly behaved. And like even the cow expert that I refer to all the time, Jean, said she was so impressed with her level of training. And I said, I'm actually surprised by this because she's the one who likes to play games with you and stuff, but she's well behaved. But this baby, mate, you probably can't see it, but my forefinger and knuckle and everything's still really badly bruised.
Oh.
She carried on a treat. We brought her in with the baby. And again, we always keep the baby really close because we want her to know, I'm not taking your baby. We're just coming into safety. It's all good. Here's your baby. And even now that I'm milking her, I've not removed her baby at all because she produces so much milk. I don't need to. As they get a bit older and they take everything out of the udder, you might remove them overnight, but you still have them where mum can see them and lick them. Again, that's their love language. The licking stimulates them pooping and their digestive system. Like it's so important. But yeah, so I brought her into milk her the very first time to get the colostrum out. She was an absolute dream. It's like she'd never forgotten anything. The second day, she was like, nah, I don't want to play ball. And she stuffed around. She shit in the stand about 4 times. And not once did she ever shit in the stand when she, last season, not once. She would hold it, back out, poop, and then go back in. That's how well behaved she is. Poop in the stand can be stress or it can be up yours, right?
She's done that to me a few times.
Yeah, right. And so the same thing about a wee. You've just cleaned their udder. It's perfect, ready to put the cups on. And they'll bend down and have a wee, which splashes wee on that. And I'm telling you what, I've seen cows save it 3 or 4 times, to do it 3 or 4 times, to drag out the putting of the cups on. And they're so clever. And that's the point about training a cow. Don't ever think that, Oh, it's too much. Don't ask too much of them. They can't take that. They're so intelligent and they really like interaction. They like to learn things. They love, like, I've got 3 cows out here in my petting zoo paddock, I call it. And the reason I've got them there is 2 of them are like super friendly, approach me all the time. And one that I've just taken on that's quite malnourished, not very good, hasn't been raised right, had really bad parasites and things like that. So was like a little wildling. And I thought, oh, once the parasites were gone, I'll pop her in with all my friendly ones. Because just by learning, oh, those guys go up to her and look, they're eating something, yum. She's like, oh, hang on, what's going on here? And she'll walk up. They learn a lot from each other, from you. They will watch the kids playing and learn all kinds of things. Very intelligent creatures. So don't ever underestimate their ability to learn things. I've got voice commands for my girls in the stand. If they're standing, like, some mornings they'll put their knees together, like, don't touch my udder. And I'll say, step out. And they step out nice and wide so I can get full access with cups. Or I can tap their back leg and they know that means to step out.
That's cool.
They know the word no. When they're finished and it's time for the next cow, I'll say, come on, back out. And they back out. They're very, very intelligent and there's no limit to what you can teach them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, you'll get
Well,
there.
Yeah, we will. We will.
I feel like
Can't wait.
potentially putting a little bit much pressure on yourself
Yeah, probably.
because how far you've come in such a short time, I think you're potentially an overachiever. and you're trying to have this animal that, like, bounds up to you, gives you a snuggle, and it's all yeah, like you frolic together. It might happen, but you may have also got an animal, and that's the other thing I did want to touch on. You may have got an animal that they were cast off the dairy because she does have bad behavior. Maybe, I mean, in saying that, I hate that analogy because I've got dairy animals that was the dairyman, according to him, his favourite cow. She got here and she hated me. She hated me. She would poo like a hippo and swish her tail and shit all over me.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
she was a kicker. She was terribly behaved. And we'd done all the right things. I stayed calm with her and everything. So I sold her because my cow expert was like, well, if your relationship's not working and she doesn't seem to like you, don't keep her. And I was like, it was a hard thing to swallow because I was like, why doesn't she like me? Like, it was offensive to me. I was like, I'm giving her treats, all that stuff. I sold her to Rustic Groves Farm, and Paul, my mate's husband, was milking her, and she was an absolute dream.
What the?
Immediately, because clearly she was used to dealing with the dairyman and didn't like women.
Interesting.
It was as simple as that. So I actually now have her back on my property because they're travelling around Australia, and I said I'd look after her because he's in love with her. She's his heart cow, right? And I'm telling you, when she came off the float, she gave me a sideways look like, shit, you're back. Because and I will work with her and I will milk her, but she just doesn't prefer it. Maybe my husband would have a better deal of it. But there are so many varied reasons why an animal will behave a certain way. But looking at her body language, I think she really does like you. But to her, you are a bit of a plaything. She's trying to see whether she can win. But also you represent work. And maybe she's like, I don't want to work. I don't want to do what you tell me to do.
Yep.
Yep. I've got some
Just
comments
a
here.
question. Yeah, I just saw that. I was just reading that first one. What about using food to catch her? Whenever I go in, I take a small container of grain and they come running because they love it so much. Once they are in, they can be brushed and catch them easily. With Fontaine, doesn't work. She will run
Yes.
away from me until I grab that rope. Even grain, food, watermelon, her favorite snack. She just gives me the runaround for some reason.
Yeah, she knows that
Yeah.
when as soon as we show her, like, a process of events. So we come out, bring the grain, you give her a pat, and we pick up the rope. She knows that next time we bring the grain, we're going to pick up the rope, and so she won't even come the next time we bring grain.
Yeah.
So she's very,
So,
very smart, very clued on.
yeah, I have the benefit of actually knowing this animal as well, or these animals that are being talked about now. I think most of them have been raised from babies with her. So I know that one of them Hope, her cow, is a Friesian. I think potentially a full-blood Friesian. You've bottle raised her. It's a totally different thing. And that's why I say to these guys, when Fontaine has her baby, and hopefully it's a heifer, you will see there is no trouble ever training a baby. I've never had a baby turn out wrong, because from the day they're born, you pick them up. That's my number one thing I say to everyone. Pick that baby up as much as you can while it's young, because in their mind, they go, oh, you're really strong. You're like so much stronger than me. And they always know that about you. So they don't push the boundaries. And they're the safest cows I've ever had around are the ones I've raised. Or, I mean, when I say I raised, they're raised with their mums, unless they're a bottle baby, for whatever reason. But when their mum is being milked, my daughter has it on a halter. She's brushing and grooming it from a little tiny baby. And then that baby goes, oh, this is so great. Like mum gets milked, I get a massage, and there's no fear at all. No bad habits are learned. Nothing horrible's ever happened to them. So the trust is there immediately. Their respect for you is there immediately, because you can pick them up. You're so strong. They never forget that. When they're an adult, they still think you can pick them up, even though you don't, right?
Yeah.
It's all here.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, like, someone did make a comment in one of the posts I put up about sometimes it's bad breeding and sometimes it's just a bad cow and you should get rid of it and not waste your time with it. And while I agree with that somewhat, that person, he's very knowledgeable, but he's from a dairy background and they have the luxury of doing that, right?
Yeah.
You guys have invested whatever amount of money it's cost you to get her, and then you've invested all the yards and as a homesteader, my money's earmarked for 2 years. So, just going out and buying a $3,000 cow, it's not cheap and it's not easy, and maybe the money's not there, which is why you do have to persevere, right? As long as you're safe and no one's getting hurt, it's worth working on, because even down the track, when she has her heifer and you're training it and it's perfectly behaved, you've then got your replacement cow and you could sell Fontaine on. I guarantee you won't want to, because you would have done all the hard work and you will be madly in love with her.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's the hope.
That's the hope.
Yeah. But, if she does continue to be difficult, maybe it is just a case of change the whole scenario for her. Send her to live on someone else's homestead where it might be totally different. They might have a heap of cows and that's all that's missing for her is friends.
Probably.
And then in which case, when she has a baby, problem solved, because she's got a friend. So we're not there yet, Jake. And when I saw him say that, I thought, well, it's all well and good you say that from a dairy background with ample access to all the cows under the sun, but getting Fontaine for you was quite difficult.
Oh, very difficult.
So exactly. So we need to, and as homesteaders, it's like, no, I'm invested financially, but also emotionally. You've got children that love her, all those sorts of things. And I don't think you're there yet. I don't think it's time to get rid of her.
No, neither do I.
Because there is a line, like, obviously we didn't get her to be a pet, we got her to be a working animal. And so you do have to know when, I guess, like, you've kind of got to your limit with what you're willing to invest in, not just financially, but in training with an animal and knowing when to kind of cut your losses. And we've only had her for 5 months. And obviously, like, this is our first cow, so we don't know what that limit looks like. But from, the conversations that we've had with you, we have enough hope to know that we do have more time with her to be able to turn this around. So
Yeah.
we're not ready to call it quits yet.
That's good. And I do love that about you guys, that you've stayed the course, because I do believe that's what she's testing, just how far she can push you. So, and guess what, guys? It doesn't have to be every day. If you've had enough for a few months and you need to focus on your house build, you've done the hard work. She's Halter trained. Take the rope off, let her go. Give her 2 months to think about the training and pay her zero attention. And then watch how quick she comes running to you, because she's had no attention.
True.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So change things up. If you really have had enough of feeling like this, and the other day when we spoke, I felt like, oh, you poor bugger, like you've done all the hard work and you're just wanting her to run up and hug you because you do genuinely love her, then just forget about her for a minute. Like, obviously you still take care of her, but don't do the training anymore. Take the lead off her and let her go in the paddock. Let her graze once she's pregnant. Just have your time, build your house. There's no urgency to keep doing that.
True.
Because as
That's
soon
good
as when you want her back in work, she'll be able to do it. You've trained her.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
There's no rules.
quick.
There is no rules, and it's okay to go, I'm just going to put this down for a minute. Things get hectic on a homestead. I've been sick for a solid nearly 3 weeks now. And so I even had a friend come and milk for me the other day because I'm that unwell. But it is okay to put things down and go, it's not for me right now. Right now, training her is not in the front of my mind. I'm going to build my house. You've done the hard work. She can be caught if there's a medical need, when it's time to have her bred, all those things. There's no urgency to keep handling her every day. If you like doing it, do it. But if you don't, put it down. Leave it for a bit.
Awesome. Yeah. Sunday's kind of like my day off cow duties. I just don't do anything on that's a nice little reprieve once a week.
Yeah, look, if you put it down for a couple of months, she's not going to go backwards.
Yeah, cool.
She'll probably really miss it and be looking for it. Yep. You're not going to do any damage by stopping now. If it is bothering you, there's no shame in that. I've done it myself.
Cool. Well, it's good to know. If there's because obviously we're about to get our subfloor for our house. So once that gets underway, it's going to take a lot of time. So it's just nice to know that I have that option to just, be able to put that aside if I'm doing some big projects around here.
Yep. If you wanted some sort of ongoing training ideas, you said to me that she doesn't go into the milking stall.
Not willingly.
Like you have to drag her in, right?
Yeah, I do.
So without putting any pressure on it, you get a handful, and I mean just a handful, nothing more, because you don't want her getting overweight, of cattle pellets, and you walk in there in the morning, you drop them in the feed bowl and you walk away. That's it. She will start walking into there going, oh, this is good. Every time they come near the milking stall, there's really good feed in there. And before you know it, she'll be coming in there with you there because she can't wait to eat that.
True.
Right? You are making...
Yeah, I appreciate all your investment into us as well. You've been invaluable to us. we probably wouldn't have kept her for as long as we have if we didn't have you helping us out.
Well, I know just around the corner good things are coming. Like, we didn't have milk for months, and I'm blessed that I've got a friend that's got a dairy operation that's running flat out. So I was able to get milk from her. But mine are back in milk now, or one of them is, and it's like, oh God, I've missed that. Like, it is so worth it when you can make your own cheeses and ice creams and all that.
I cannot wait to take my first bite of Fontaine Camembert.
Yeah. And she's not really, honestly, Jake, is not a bad animal.
No, she's not.
I don't think so. I think maybe that's why I think it is good if you just put it down, because you've come such a long way. And I know it's not about cow training, but horse training, they do that, right? They'll train solidly for a few months, and then they'll get that animal and put it out on spell, so that animal gets a chance to work it through in its head and let those lessons sink in. Maybe that's all
Yep.
she needs.
Yep.
You're doing a good job.
Yep. We're getting there.
You are. Yeah, like, seriously, don't stress about it. But I think we've covered
Awesome.
everything. Thank you so much for joining
everything.
us, Rocky Forest Farm. I won't use
Yeah.
your real name because I don't know if you want me to online, but she's a good friend of mine and has some beautiful cows herself. She does the Highlands.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I've just got one, right? I've got a Highland Jersey, and I'm struggling with all the things that you are struggling with now. Because, well, I think one of the things was parasite load, and now that that's no longer an issue, I've took her straight to the bull because I want her in that gorgeous pregnancy glow and not being a feral mongrel, because she's feral.
Yeah.
But I feel like meat breeds they're way worse than Jerseys. In general, Jerseys are a nice, calm animal.
Interesting.
All right, she doesn't mind her name being used, so it's Penny from Rocky Forest
Penny.
Farm.
Hi, Penny.
All right, so I'll let you guys go and get on with your day. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure chatting and getting to see Fontaine again.
Yep.
Thank you for your time and your advice.
And you're most welcome. And that's something I do want to say at the end of this. I am always open to advice, and sometimes it doesn't always fit like the advice I give to you might need to be adjusted sometimes because maybe that animal doesn't respond to that. So there are a heap of other things. And if I get stumped, I ask my cow experts and they help me out too. One of my cow experts has got 50 years in the Jersey industry. She's amazing, amazing lady. So I've learned all sorts of things from her that you probably would never learn anymore, that awesome wealth of knowledge handed down. But I'm always here to help someone, and don't ever get discouraged. There's an answer to every problem.
Yep.
And I'm really impressed with you guys just sticking with it. You are going to come out on top, I promise you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
I
Thanks,
appreciate
Mel.
that.
All right.
Awesome.
You guys have a great day.
You
Will
too.
do.
Bye.
Thanks, Mel.
Bye,
Catch ya. Bye,
guys.
chat.